This is Neutral Ice.
Currently at number 3, the Edmonton Oilers.
And we have a winner. The first overall pick in the 2015 NHL Draft belongs to the Edmonton Oilers.
The Edmonton Oilers move up from number 3 to number 1, and the Buffalo Sabres fall to number 2.
Buffalo's best hockey show every Monday night.
I mean, whether or not it's the Oilers that are selecting you, I mean, anything could happen on draft day. You never know, and that's an unbelievable organization, and it'll be a true honor to be able to go there.
I don't know what they're going to do with it. The league may think that this is the best system, and if it is, I support them. But, it almost feels like you're a World Junior player getting that call at 6 in the morning from Team Canada saying that you haven't made it again this year. So, but you know what? We'll get over it. We'll get back to work tomorrow and get ready for the draft.
It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. I know. No, you don't. It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault. All right? It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
When I turned pro, I was really happy at PE this season, and, a lot can happen. Obviously, it's my dream to play in the NHL, but I don't think there's a rush to go anywhere. And, I'm sure the decision will be made, at the right time. And, right now, I have a long way to go. It's a dream, and I'd love to play in the National Hockey League.
Now, here are your hosts, Nick Lippa and Jack Sullivan.
The night is darkest just before the dawn. I promise you, the dawn is coming.
On Buffalo's original alternative, 91.3 FM, WBNY.
You like Ike, I like Ike, everybody likes Ike. Hang out the banners, beat the drums, Willwood with Ike in Boston.
91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo. Buffalo's original alternative since 1982, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Student Activity Fee. I'm Nick Lippa, here with Brayton Wilson, here with Joe DiBiase, here with Derek Kramer, here with Chris Kowalchuk, and here with Frank Arcuri here on Neutral Ice, Buffalo's best hockey talk show. Getting it down and dirty with you. Oh, if you hadn't heard by the extremely depressing intro, that was Brayton. That was wonderful. Thank you very much for that.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Capturing the moment. We have a lot to talk about. The draft lottery, the Edmonton Oilers are the number 1 pick. That's about it. I don't feel too bad about it. That being said, we'll have more to talk about that. We also have playoff hockey to talk about. Are the Sens done? They looked really good coming into the playoffs, and the Canadians just seem to keep getting by, keep getting those wins. PK Subban doing really good at chopping trees, and everybody else feels pretty good about their time right now. The Rangers and Penguins are the game of the night. Currently in the second period, the Rangers up 1-0 on Pittsburgh, looking to take a 2-1 series lead, outshooting the Penguins 9-4 currently in the game. So Penguins off to a slow start in this one. But the Rangers kind of let up game 2, and that led to the series being tied 1-1. So that's the game of the night, Rangers versus the Penguins. But we're going to talk draft lottery before we get to anything else. And again, the Sabres only had a 20% chance to win the Connor McDavid sweepstakes, and it turns out they didn't get it. It was the other 80%. Oh, go figure. Now,
math was right?
Math was right, guys. It happened. Oh, no. More so, however, I think the bigger conversation is not the Sabres losing, but Tim Murray's reaction, or should I say the majority of reaction to Tim Murray, I think is really what the conversation needs to be. Did all of us watch the press conference here before I go forward?
Yes.
Yeah.
Watched, listened.
Okay. So here are some of the comments that have been made about Murray by credible analysts and journalists.
It's garbage.
About this situation after Murray. He's been called a whiner, said that he threw Jack Eichel under the bus.
That's not true!
And said some other things in regards that Murray has handled the entire situation very poorly and handled it purely emotional. I think that's not true. I think it's really...
That's not true!
Yeah, thank you. Let's play one more time, just so let's get it out there.
That's not true!
Because that's how not true it really is. When you're looking at it right now, the Buffalo Sabres GM Tim, did a wonderful job, I think, of just coming out and basically putting it like a lot of us feel at the moment. I understand some of the fans are upset about everything, but he comes out and he goes, yeah, I don't agree with the system. Everybody. Did Tim Murray say he didn't agree with the system at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that was a really good one, guys. Everybody, did Tim Murray say he didn't agree with the system at the beginning of the year?
Yes.
The lottery system.
He voted against
Thank
it, too.
you.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to a wall sometimes here. You know, I get no respect. Beautiful. That being said, did he say that? So in regards, yeah. So at the beginning of the year, so if you're asked a question about this, where you're asked a question about the draft lottery and not, what do you think about the lottery and the whole process, and you answer it the same way you did 8 months ago, I really don't know what people expected in that regard. Does anybody have a counter to that? Really?
Not really. I mean, that's pretty accurate.
Okay, pretty accurate. Okay, is Tim Murray really a whiner for basically stating that he doesn't agree with the process? Was he a whiner 8 months ago?
No, I mean, he's just saying, I think, what he believes. I mean, he also said that if the Sabres are, like, one day in the Stanley Cup Finals, he will still speak out against these lottery rules.
Absolutely. Now, looking at it this way, and looking from there, he also says, he's upset about not getting the number 1 pick. Did that shock anybody? Should he have been happy about not getting the number 1 pick?
No.
So why are we trying to make a story out of the fact that Tim Murray said he would rather have the number 1 pick and then go on to state, pending where he was, that he would go back, talk to who he talked to, and figure out who he would have selected? I mean, he went so out of his way to make sure he did not insult Jack Eichel in that comment. I don't know how that could have been interpreted as throwing Jack Eichel under the bus, besides you trying to create a story.
If you listen to or if anybody watched on the NHL Network before the draft lottery even happened, they had a little Sportsnet special where they talked to Tim Murray. Elliot Friedman talked to Tim Murray, and Tim Murray adamantly said that he was excited for this draft, that both players were, top tier players, that he knew that these two players were going to change the franchise regardless of which one he was going to have. He was very adamant about that. I'm trying to pull up these quotes here because I did quote it yesterday. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's some quotes from the draft lottery right before it happened. GMTM, quote, "Both players outstanding players. We hope we win the lottery, but we know we're getting a great player for the future. I've seen Eichel play a lot, too. He excites me. Great young player, number 1 center in the NHL and a cup contending team in the future. I think teams will call just to feel you out regarding trading the top pick if they win it. They're going to call, and they'll know it's a big package." And that was basically the whole point of it. And what I got out of it was that the post-draft lottery comments were, you could obviously tell he's disappointed. He wanted to win the draft lottery. He wanted Connor McDavid.
He wants to win everything.
It doesn't matter that, it's not like he didn't want Jack Eichel. Exactly. He loves Jack Eichel. He said that to Pierre LeBrun. The thing is that he knows Eichel's a great talent. The Sabres are going to be set for years, but the media just took it and just construed it in a different way because some people didn't realize that, he's not saying he doesn't want Jack Eichel. It's just he wanted to win the draft lottery. It's a competitive nature. It's a competitive league. If you don't want to be the best, if you don't want to win that top pick, what's the point of being in this league? What's the point of being a general manager in this league? What's the point of trying to draft high?
People will make a story for what they want to believe. And then this is a really bad, blatant case of it. They took his words and they mixed them. I mean, he came out and basically said, somehow this quote, am I misquoting this? Where maybe I misheard it, where I heard that he was like, maybe if we were at the number 1 pick, we would entertain trade offers or look at potentially trading down. Did he say that during the interview?
I don't think I got the sense out of that. I think it was more of like, we're gonna view our options, but there's not a good chance we're going to trade in the end. But
I heard basically everything I heard from Murray was that I'm always keeping my options open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's always going to keep his options open. What else is he going to say?
But that's the deal. I mean, well, what else is he going to say? Well, he's going to say what Craig McTavish said. What's your chances of trading? What's less than 0 was the quote on that one. So no, that is what else he could have said. I don't understand if you want the media friendly answer, then Tim Murray's not your guy. He's going to be honest with you. He's going to be in your face. He's going to be abrasive. He has one of the first things he said, I'm not a patient guy. I'm glad I didn't have to fly out here and that we're so close to Toronto. And that, in all honesty, that idea, he's like, I could have just had a phone call. That's what he said. I could have just had a phone call about this. I don't need this. And then he went on to say, I understand why the NHL does this and all this kind of stuff. But he's always been this kind of abrasive guy who's very straightforward. Did anybody not see the draft who reported on this last year? Did Murray? Where were the articles about Murray being disrespectful at the NHL draft?
There were none. There were none because this draft lottery, there was no set number 1, no set number 2, unlike this year's. And the fact is that it worked out in Buffalo's favor anyways.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim Murray even said last year he wanted to win the draft lottery because he wanted that top pick. And guess what? He didn't get it. And this year, it's almost the exact same thing, except it's a different premise. Where last year, no clear-cut number 1, it went into Buffalo's advantage because they were going to take Sam Reinhart anyways. This year, Connor McDavid's the clear-cut number 1. Jack Eichel's the clear-cut number 2. Buffalo wanted Connor McDavid. They didn't get him, but they still get Jack Eichel, and guess what? Tim Murray is just as happy with Jack Eichel as he would have been with Connor McDavid.
And I'm pretty sure, I think everybody in the Sabres organization is happy. And for everybody who is complaining, or still, if there are people out there who are complaining about the tank and any of that, what does this say, to get some of the other guys involved right now talking, what does it say right now, Studio B, that Buffalo ended up losing the lottery? What does that say about the tank?
Who cares?
It's still worth it.
Absolutely, Frank.
We have to think the tank was not about Connor McDavid. The tank was about Jack Eichel. We weren't doing the tank for a 20% chance at Connor McDavid. We were doing it for the 100%
that would be
chance
foolish.
to get one of them. Because, if Jack Eichel, say Jack Eichel is a year younger and he's not till next year's draft, not nearly as many people are going to be on board. And when you have a game like against Arizona, you're not going to have fans rooting against them because what are you rooting against or rooting for? You're rooting for 7%? No, that's not what it was about. It was about the guarantee of one of the two.
Yeah, it's one of those things where many of these fans here are not going to mind the fact that they lost the draft lottery. They don't care because of the fact that, again, the tank was not, as Joe said, about Connor McDavid as much as it was about Jack Eichel and getting a surefire player at 1 or 2.
And remember, Jack Eichel, he is below McDavid. A lot of people have him below him on their rankings. But there aren't a ton of people that think that there's this huge gap between the two.
2 and 3 is a much bigger gap.
I don't think
By much bigger, do you mean an entire canal of a gap? Because that's the reality of it. Eichel, if you read the reports on Eichel and McDavid, these are the words that are going to come up for both. Unbelievable. Elite. Unbelievable. They're not just all of a sudden like, oh, well, Eichel's just okay. There isn't any traits like that on Eichel or McDavid.
Franchise changing. That's the key phrase here. Franchise changing.
Who's the last player to win the Hobie Baker Award as a freshman?
Paul Kariya.
Paul Kariya have a pretty good career if he doesn't get a head injury?
Yeah, he had a great career minus the concussions and everything like that. If he... honestly, there could be a debate. He could still be playing if he didn't have head injuries. I think he would be what?
He's 40.
40 right now. Who knows? He might still be playing right now if he didn't have head issues.
So, and see, the difference with Kariya is he was a little shorter. Eichel's like
6'2".
Yeah, he's already got an NHL body. And
a lot of scouts have said that his size is already NHL ready. It's unbelievable how really. It almost seems like that some scouts say that his size is almost bigger than it says on paper, but that's. I see that too. I think Jack
plays a bigger style.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I really feel that if McDavid's presence, I think, kind of hinders Eichel when you're talking about comparisons to other prospects, because everyone's like, oh, McDavid's the best prospect in Crosby, McDavid's the best prospect in the best decade. I really feel that Eichel would be getting the same attention. There's an argument to be made that he, other than McDavid, he is the best prospect coming into the draft since Sidney Crosby. You can make the argument.
You could definitely make the argument, and I'll be honest, I love this for Buffalo. We're getting a top generational player. This is reasons to hold a parade. This is a guy that's going to be in the franchise for at least the next 15 years, people. Does everybody realize that? Take a second, sit down, and realize Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin, those franchises, Pittsburgh, Washington, the franchises you envy, the Buffalo player you wish, the Peyton Manning, the Tom Brady, the guy you wish you always had in Buffalo. The guy you haven't had since Perot retired. He's coming to Buffalo. His name's Jack Eichel.
There is an argument, though, that Pat LaFontaine was really the last type of player that could have even compared to Eichel. But, yeah, still, franchise player. There's only been really one franchise player on this team, and that's Gilbert Perreault, who's had his career start and end in Buffalo.
That's more so what I mean.
And then Dominic Hasek might have been, another one of those franchise players. But, he was the one person that carried the team on their back.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a difference there, but if you're comparing like what you just said with a player who's, start to finish and who's been the face of the franchise, Gilbert Perreault is probably that last player.
I mean, and again,
Even
it's
for
not,
players that were drafted.
Yeah, it's not any discredit to but how long did LaFontaine play for the Sabres?
He played from
6 years.
6 years,
How long-
91
and-
to
and-
97.
And how long did Hasek play?
9.
He played, which was very long. Although,
Let's remember, I think 2 of them he was a backup.
And Ryan Miller holds the all-time win record for goalies in Buffalo.
But Dominic Hasek holds
Was
the
the man.
winner. But he's got the
6,000.
save percentage record.
No, I'm not trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that as far as like being in Buffalo for the longevity, like Hasek is Hasek. He's one of the greatest goaltenders of all time, no doubt.
Yep.
Okay. Nobody's debating that. I'm not saying Miller was better than Hasek at any point. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you have that connection with the homegrown talent. There's something about seeing a player come through your system through Rochester like Miller did, coming up and then rooting for him in a playoff game. I mean, that playoff series against Philadelphia, to see a lesser Buffalo team stay in that series 7 games because Miller stood on his head. There was something special about watching Ryan Miller in that series where you're just like, yeah. And then it was kind of, and me growing up as a fan, I mean, I'm a kid, and I'm watching, I'm just like, man, I got to watch Hasek win a cup with Detroit after playing in Buffalo all those years. You have this generational talent. And even if you feel like you've been like, oh, okay, well, we had Hasek. Well, how long ago was that?
2001. Yeah, he got traded.
And who on Buffalo has made you feel that good since a guy like Kelly?
Drury Breer.
I mean, maybe.
As a combination, maybe.
Yeah.
But even that, they were gone like a flash. You had the 2 years, and then it was gone. It was basically like you get to look, but you cannot touch. Oh, that's like what you got with them. And this is different. This is a new era of hockey right now with some of these players. You got guys like Sam Bennett scoring the game-winning goal. Reinhardt's coming out. You have this new generation of hockey coming up, and Eichel and McDavid are the face of it. And one of them's in Buffalo. And there's something to be said about that. This is going to be we've called this potentially the best pairing of prospects, potentially this whole millennium thus far, and one of the best pairing of prospects maybe in past 30 years in NHL, maybe ever.
The only two you can really argue is Malkin, Ovechkin.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, you can look at guys afterwards like Hall and Sagan, but even that, I mean, Hall hasn't developed into like a I mean, he's a great player.
He's
but
wonderful. He's just got to stay
I don't
healthy.
know if he's generational.
And but he plays on Edmonton.
Malkin arguably isn't even the best player on his team.
Well, no, because he plays with Crosby.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, and that's I mean, they're still terrific players, But yeah, that's the deal. Be excited. This is a time to. I'm jumping for joy. I am so happy to see and the puns. There are so many puns we get to have now. You already played one of them. Ikes. You got, if you hire Mike Babcock, you got Mike and Ikes.
I saw a T-shirt it says Jack Eichel's Buffalo Hockey, and it's a Jack Daniels bottle.
There's gonna be I will.
That was from the 716 store. There's another one that's Jack to the Future, and then there's also one with I Like Ike.
I can't wait because if we do get to go to the game, I'm going to bring a sign, and it's just going to be, I saw somebody tweeted this, I can't take credit for it, but it's amazing, and it's if Molson and Eichel play on the same line. It's a picture of Bill and Ted, but they look exactly like Eichel and Molson.
I've got, I mean, off of that point, I said something earlier, too, where it's just like, if you get Mike Babcock to coach, it's like I have Mike and Ike's and enjoying a Molson Canadian at the same time. And Molson is Canadian too, so boom!
Works for everyone.
That's a double pun right there.
Not to mention, I mean, if you want to talk about it, if you're a Buffalo fan, this is the face of USA hockey for the future.
I know that.
You know that. Does everybody else know that, world? I'm talking to you, guy listening to the show.
Guess what? You're going to learn today.
As Brayton stands up in his chair in his Eichel jersey, his Team USA Eichel jersey, he smartly purchased, not a Sabres McDavid or Eichel jersey, a Team USA Eichel jersey a long time ago.
Rest in peace to all the
And the New York Rangers go up 2-0, out-shooting the Pittsburgh Penguins 16-6 with 8:53 left in the second period. Sorry, all those Ranger haters out there. It's not looking good for you.
Chris Kreider gets the goal.
Chris, you were saying something before.
I said I can get behind Eichel or McDavid once every. I can get behind Eichel once every 4 or 2 years. However, they're gonna do international hockey.
Well, Eichel might play on the under 23, 24 super skills team, whatever you want to call them, at the Hockey World Cup.
I would love to see that because McDavid probably won't.
Well, McDavid probably will.
I thought he was going to be playing.
He might play on Team Canada, but you know what? Even if
That's
he's
a
not on
tough
Team
team to
Canada,
make.
it's a really tough team to make, especially with the talent that's out there right now in the current NHL.
That would be funny.
Claude Giroux was cut from the Olympic team. Let's remember
Yeah,
that.
Claude Giroux.
Yeah, Claude Giroux was also banged up.
And they still won the gold medal.
Claude Giroux was banged up, though. Anybody who saw the second half season for the Flyers would go, I get it. Giroux wasn't the best player on his team. Voracek was this year. But that's a different story, because that's because of injuries as well. So that being said, though, very exciting time for the Sabres heading forward with Eichel. Is everybody – now I want to ask this question. Is there any doubt in mind that the Sabres are definitely picking two? Tim Murray already said that he's really not interested in trading two at all. And the only other way for the Sabres that they could go is the very, 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 the 0.0001 chance that they traded up in some weird scenario. Is there any chance in anybody's eyes of any probability that the Sabres actually, or the Oilers, trade down, I guess?
I don't see it happening. I think that Craig McTavish would be smarter than that. But it is Craig McTavish. Let's just say that.
He is the last player to not wear a helmet.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I don't think that Buffalo's going to try and trade up. I mean, they'll I'm not going to say that they won't try. I'll say that they'll give it an effort, but I think Tim Murray will soon realize that Craig McTavish would, have to get the world in order to give up Connor McDavid and to trade down to number 2. It's just very unlikely, as you said, a 0.000001 chance that it happens. Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly disagree that the Sabres will have a chance to trade up.
Any similar thoughts?
I agree with Brayton. I don't think there's a chance it happens, really. I mean, anything's possible. So if Tim Murray wants to, give away all the prospects that we have, maybe McTavish accepts, but the price it would cost, I don't even think I would want to do it.
No.
If you'd have to give up Eichel, Ristolainen, Gergensen,
already
2
know.
first-round picks, and Ennis. That might not even get it done, and I wouldn't want to do it.
No way.
The price it would take is just ridiculous. I don't think – I really don't think there's a chance.
If you even include the name Rasmus Ristolainen, I would say we're done here.
Yeah, that's why I don't think a trade would ever.
The trade won't happen. It won't happen, and it's something that Murray
It's either
knows.
you're going to have to give up a top defenseman like a Rasmus Ristolainen, or you have to give up one of your top prospects, maybe like a Sam Reinhart, in addition to probably like a Mark Pezic. Mark Pezic did play in Edmonton for the Western Hockey League team, the Edmonton Oil Kings. Won a Memorial Cup there, captained that team. He's a fan favorite. The Oilers know of Mark Pezic, so if Rasmus Ristolainen's not an option, then they may.
I still think it's not worth it.
They would still no, it's not, because Mark Pezic's future is really, really high. His ceiling is incredibly high as long as he can stay healthy. Which that little spout of dehydration that he had, that was scary and all that. But I mean, judging by the 3 games that he played this past weekend, he looks just fine out there. I mean, it was just one of those weird things that happened.
Played really good hockey.
That 0.001% chance Brayton was talking about, I think the only thing that could make a deal work is if McDavid told Edmonton he didn't want to play for them. I just don't think he has the personality for that, though. And I mean, we don't. I mean, people are guessing that he's not happy about going to Edmonton, but you don't really know.
Boy,
so.
he did not. I mean, he didn't look happy. Before, again, going back to before the draft lottery, the Sportsnet had a special on the NHL Network. They talked to Connor McDavid. They talked to Dylan Strome. They talked to Noah Hannafin. Connor McDavid looked like the happiest kid, like as if I get to see my golden ticket here. I get to see who's going to take me home, who's going to pick me up.
It looks the GIF. It's online everywhere. The GIF of his face. It's one of the most deflating things I think I've ever seen in my entire life.
After it was announced that Edmonton won the draft lottery, they followed him down the halls heading towards the studio, and he just looked like the most miserable kid. It looked like a kid that was like, yeah, I just won the biggest prize at the carnival, and then it's like, well, somebody just took it from me, and now I don't have any more money to win another ticket. So you're just walking around the carnival just like, well, this sucks.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
There it is.
No joke. I don't really know. I'm not gonna say anything because I'm not gonna start a narrative because I really don't know how Connor McDavid feels about this. I don't know what the idea is. However, I will say this: the Edmonton Oilers have not been to the playoffs in 9 years. They have not run their organization very well, and McTavish came out on record saying that he's pretty cool with the defenseman he had, and they had one of the worst defenses in the league. If the Sabres weren't trying to lose, they may have had the worst defense in the league. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. It's you're not really excited. I mean, think about the teams you could have gone to. You could have been on a line in the future with Duclair and Max Domi in Arizona, with Oliver Ekman-Larsson as one of the guys playing most of your minutes with you. You could have been going even to Toronto, who has some younger players there that could be coming through, not too many, but some other guys already in place that are pretty good players. You could have been going to Buffalo with their young prospect pool. New Jersey has a goalie in Corey Schneider and some other players around there, like a solid defensive core like Larson. The Hurricanes, that kind of would have been depressing too.
God,
that would have been.
no,
There's not much going for the Hurricanes. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, I can't find a positive. But it was almost like, it was like any other team. I mean, and the Oilers have Taylor Hall, and they have Jordan Eberle, and now Yakupov, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I mean, there is an abundance of talent on offense there from pick save side. As many have said, the Edmonton Oilers are really good at picking number one. However, it's been bad. The management has been bad. And I raised the question, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Oilers, but we're going to take a break here. And afterwards, I'm going to ask you guys all the question. Why hasn't OV won a cup? Next on Neutral Ice.
Today, we are here together to honor the team that brought the next franchise player to the Buffalo Sabres organization. The 2014-2015 Buffalo Sabres season was, to say, one of the worst seasons that any hockey team could possibly have. Highlighted by a 14-game regulation losing streak, being shut out a franchise record 14 times in a season, the lowest Corsi rating of any team that has ever been in the league, and a team that led the league most of the season in being the lowest in any statistical category imaginable. There's banners for the French Connection, Pat LaFontaine, Danny Gare, Tim Horton, Dominic Hasek, and all the banners signifying the conference championships, the division championships. But this one is different. A new banner will go up today, signifying the worst season ever imaginable, and one season that we will not only never forget, but eventually forget it for when the Sabres have 7 Stanley Cups. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the tank banner of 2014-2015.
Four more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! Everybody, come on! We gotta get everybody! We gotta get everybody, Brayden!
No,
come on.
God,
come
please,
on!
no,
Come on!
no,
4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! 4 more years! Okay.
No,
Wait,
God, please,
what are you
no,
asking
no,
4 more years of? I don't get
no,
it.
I just felt
no, God, please, no, 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 God, please, no,
Oh, God,
no,
you looped it.
no.
All right, we get it. All right, look. It just felt right, guys. All right, it felt at the end of that. 91.3 FM, WBNY, Buffalo. I'm sorry, I got confused with Edmonton a couple years ago.
in Edmonton today.
Oh man, no, that was that was a lot of fun. But no, the tank banner really needs to go up. I'm here I'm petitioning right now here for the Neutral Ice crew. We need to make a banner. The Sabres currently aren't, so can we please make a banner?
Do we know the Sabres currently aren't?
We know the Sabres aren't going to. We need to make a 30th place banner with the tank logo. 30th place champions. That's what I want to say. Can we make that? I seriously, we need to make that.
Does anyone have the Photoshop skills?
I'll learn how to knit.
Learn how to knit. No, we gotta knit it. I'm not joking. It needs to be homey, and we're gonna raise it on a flagpole somewhere. We're
Knit it with a lot of yarn.
Hang it right in the
night of
studio.
probably
here it is. Anybody listening right now, if you would like to be part of the Neutral Ice Knitting Club, all right, we are looking for the night of the NHL draft to raise the flag for 30th place.
If you want to sign up, give us a call at 878-5104.
That's right, 716-878-5104. Please
Or hit us up on our Twitter handle.
If you help out, you can engrave your name into one side of the flag. As you are a part of the knitting of the official tank flag of Neutral Ice.
My name is not going on that.
So it's okay.
We could probably sell these.
I think it would be a lot of fun. Although we can't sell things over the air because we're non-commercial, Joe.
Oh, that's right.
Watch yourself.
That's right.
Watch yourself. You almost got us there, FCC. You almost got us, but you didn't. All right, that being said, 91.3 from WBNY Buffalo. We are Neutral Ice, the best hockey talk show in Buffalo because that's just how we rolls. That's just how we rolls. And the question I asked before coming to break in that wonderful, wonderful bit, Brayton, thank you very much for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was a live feed from the arena, so.
Yeah, that live feed from the arena is going in the documentary, no doubt. No doubt at all in my mind. That's how we end it. That's just how it's ended. That was just Brayton just wrote the ending for the documentary.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
You need to figure out a way to make like an animation.
Well, congratulations.
That being said, oh my God, just so great. We're talking about Edmonton before the break, and really for the Oilers and why, in Oiler fans, why they should be concerned. They're getting McDavid, who is basically, let's just call it, for a lot of people and Oiler fans, is one Oiler fan in particular that we know here, called him Hockey Jesus probably like to the 12th power, like 100,000 times. Okay. And you know, he has a lot of merit saying that. Connor McDavid is a generational player. But that being said, their GM is not. I have a question for you guys. Why hasn't Ovechkin won any cups in Washington?
It's because of the fact that they haven't fully supplemented Alex Ovechkin with the talent that he needs for the team overall to win Stanley Cups. From incompetence to trading for Martin Erat and trading Philip Forsberg away. That's on a whole nother level.
Ovechkin's also had some down years. Like last year, you can point to he wasn't. I mean,
was he the reason why though? Really?
No, he wasn't the reason why. But he's very relied on in Washington, so he really has to be the best player in the NHL for them to have a chance at the Stanley Cup. I don't know if Backstrom is an amazing player, but past those two, they don't have a lot of great players that they can really lean on to carry them when those two aren't going at their fullest. I would have to point to that because, there's really not much else you can look at.
Yeah, and again, there's foolish trades that have been made there from former GM George McPhee, bad signings. You can point to a lot of things when it comes to the incompetence of management that can help cause an elite player to not win any cups.
Marty Erat.
Marty Erat's just one move though, but it's a representation.
Harry Snaps.
They also haven't had consistent goaltending until this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they do? They traded Varlamov away. They traded Neuwirth away before they could really get any sort of stability there.
Who takes blame for that?
General manager.
Who would you say, Joe?
I would probably say either the general manager or maybe just the goalie coach wasn't working out, and they finally got a guy in this year that came over from Nashville.
Was the goalie coach really the problem?
It's not. I think it's not the problem, but I think it's a little problem. And when you start to add all these little problems up together, like Mike Green.
What about Mike Green's contract?
Green's contract, yeah, that's one thing. And you're also relying on him to be a first pair defenseman, where he's very offensive, but you can't rely on him to shut down the other team's top line, and that's your highest paid defenseman. So there are problems.
There's problems, and they start at the head, the front office.
In the NFL, there's another situation I'd like to compare this to, and equally a generational player at the most important position in the game for the NFL, and that's Peyton Manning in Indianapolis. Peyton Manning in Indianapolis won one Super Bowl, lost one Super Bowl, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time statistically, and you could argue that just in general. And he only made it to 1 Super Bowl, whereas Tom Brady, who is considered his counterpart, made it to 6. Now, even if you think Brady's better than Manning, they're still very close, if not almost equal counterparts. What was the big difference? Well, Bill Polian was GM of the Indianapolis Colts for the majority of Manning's time in Indianapolis, and he made terrible, terrible draft picks every year. He'd usually hit like on one guy every 2 years. You know, he hit Reggie Wayne, and he hit Dwight Freeney, and I think Robert Mathis. And that was basically it. I mean, he had Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders had one good year, and then they won the Super Bowl that year. But it really bought job security, and most people looked at it like that afterwards. Peyton Manning bought job security for Bill Polian. My fear is that Connor McDavid, if he ends up in Edmonton, which is pretty much guaranteed at this point, is going to buy Craig McTavish a lot of job security. And I'm not sure I'd feel very good if I'm an Oilers fan about that. What do you guys think?
I agree. And you bring up the Bill Polian and Peyton Manning thing. They couldn't really – it's kind of a different scenario in the fact that they couldn't really build around Peyton Manning because Manning's contract was so ridiculously big that –
That's not true. That's not true because Tom Brady had the same thing going on in New England, and Manning would have been willing to restructure. We see quarterbacks do it all the time. Manning just did it this year.
Yes, but the similar point that we are reaching here is that job security sometimes causes incompetence and, you know, maybe being a little lackadaisical when it comes to actually being able to do things because they can just point to, oh, yeah, well, we did this. And, you know, you're absolutely right on that.
I'm not even sure if it's incompetence. I think Bill Polian was behind the times for his game, but I think Craig McTavish just has never had it. I mean, he went on record as saying basically he's okay with having his basically current defensive core in place for next year. Does anybody think Edmonton's current defensive core is anywhere near what a competitive defensive core should be in the NHL?
No.
Especially now with Petrie around anymore.
Absolutely. And Petrie's looking like he's probably going to sign a big, fat contract with Montreal, especially with how he's played in the playoffs.
I'll give the Oilers this. I think Clefbaum might develop into a nice defenseman there, but
they got Darnell Nurse too.
Darnell Nurse
who is 3
years
years away from being a viable defenseman in the NHL.
I don't know.
No. Being a defense, he's not ready next year. If maybe he'd have to have some of the fastest. He'd have to be John Klingberg on steroids to come in next year and be able to get it done.
Or just have Edmonton's current defensive core.
Yeah. No, we're talking about success in the NHL. And I think there's 3 years away until Darnell Nurse. And by the way, what usually takes the longest to develop as far as talent in the NHL?
Well,
is it offense or defense?
I have this firsthand with Adam Larson.
Thank you. And Chris, tell us about Adam Larson, who was highly coveted as a defenseman coming out of the draft.
He was drafted 4th overall, and until this year, hasn't really shown me much. He had his spurts, and you saw that he was going to be a guy that could potentially be your number one defenseman for years to come. But it's taken. We drafted him in 2011. It took until this year for him to really start stepping up his game and becoming that guy that you drafted.
How many years has that been? When was he drafted?
2011.
2011. So we're in 2015. Ristolainen's progressing pretty fastly for a defenseman.
Do we think, by the way, that Edmonton has made a mistake by drafting Nurse over Ristolainen?
Yeah,
they drafted Nurse one spot up before Ristolainen.
I would say so, but I think most people thought that Winnipeg made a mistake when they drafted Bogosian over Myers at this point. If you go back in history, if you were to go look at it, although it's iffy right now, but Myers was more coveted by most people in most accounts as far as right. I'm not crazy in saying that.
No,
right?
no,
okay.
Absolutely, you're
like
right.
Like we go back and we'll second guess, and it's not easy making judgments on NHL talent, especially defensively most of the time, unless they're Aaron Ekblad.
Yeah, from that draft that Nurse was drafted in 2013, there's only been 3 guys that have really played consistent NHL hockey. It's Seth Jones, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Nikita. And Nikita Zadorov. And Zadorov's only a product of not being able to go back to juniors.
Absolutely.
And the team being in last. So really, you can only point to Ristolainen and Seth Jones. And that's out of like 15 guys.
Seth Jones was considered to be potentially the best player in that draft by some.
He fell to 4.
So you're talking about Seth Jones considered to be one of the best players in that draft. Ristolainen's probably
he's definitely the next best defenseman.
He's probably the next best defenseman, and he's played like it. And Zadorov doesn't really deserve to be playing in the NHL right now. He should be somewhere in the AHL probably if we had a better talent level at the defensive position right now.
Well, now he can go to the AHL.
Now he can, and he had the tricky situation. He may have been back in London this year if they didn't have that whole, well, maybe he'll go to the KHL instead for a little bit scare. But yeah, you have those things, and Darnell Nurse for the Oilers is not a savior on defense. That's the whole point of this conversation. He's not going to come in and save you right away. Defensemen take a while to progress. And
I find that hard to believe.
Well, you should. And he's realistically not going to be a guy this year that's coming up. But probably if he's going to be in the NHL, it'll probably be or be a good player in the NHL. It'll be 2 years, and for him to be as effective as his draft position was, it'll probably be 3 years from now.
I do believe he'll be on the team next year, though.
I think so too. I just think that he's going to have a lot of growing pains.
Mostly from the fact that Edmonton's defensive core is
atrocious.
I think he'll kind of be similar to what Zadorov was this year. He'll show signs that he's capable and signs that he has great potential, but he's not going to be consistent.
He's going to make a lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes.
A lot of rookie mistakes.
So, but that's the problem that we have with Edmonton. Not only that, they aren't bringing in the right players at the right times. They just burned a year of Draisaitl's contract this year. For what? For what did you waste Draisaitl's contract?
Well, I think they're going to trade him, so I don't even know if it'll matter that much to them.
But it will to another team.
Yeah.
If you're trading another team, you're going to go, I got 2 years left of this guy's rookie contract. So I'm going to take
the value.
That is part. Is that? Would you not take that if you're a GM? Are you not taking into consideration that Draisaitl's value is just a little bit less, knowing you have to pay him now, not in 3 years, but in 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
is that crazy to think about?
That hurts a trade value
so,
easily.
If I'm a GM, I'm thinking about who I got to pay. There's a reason why Murray's got Giannis on the books for 3 years at the pay he's got him for. It's because he knows when he's going to have to pay certain players. I'm really saddened. I feel really bad for Oiler fans. I'm happy and sad at the same time because I legitimately think McTavish, if the front office, if the ownership of Edmonton, who, by the way, I believe, what was the whole story, Brayton? Could you fill us in, Brayton, about the whole story between Edmonton buying Hamilton? What the deal was with that? Did you hear about that? About one of the owners of Edmonton thinking about buying one of the what was it? Buying the Erie Otters or something like that?
Yeah. They forced the Erie Otters into bankruptcy because of a dispute. I don't know exactly why the dispute was brought about, but the Erie Otters were forced into bankruptcy for protection from. I can't remember what it was, but it was to protect themselves in the future, but yeah, they had to file for bankruptcy, and the Edmonton Oilers are doing the Erie Otters no favors whatsoever.
No, I just why?
And they get Connor McDavid, of course.
But why though? Too like what were reasons for it?
It's rigged. They rigged the draft lottery because they had
low. No. But I don't trust in the ownership. They don't. The ownership has never struck me as something that's a strong presence. If it was, then some of the management in Edmonton would have been turned over a long time ago. McTavish is not a guy that strikes me, and I feel like he's going to have a job for a much longer time now because Connor McDavid's there, and that scares me if I'm an Oilers fan. I think Connor McDavid's one of the best things this is the best thing that could have happened to your franchise if you're a fan of Edmonton. You're like, bam, we got hockey Jesus.
And that can help with drawing free agents.
Absolutely.
Especially when you need defensemen.
Oh, 100%. That being said, has Edmonton already tied themselves up with bad contracts?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you believe Gaznik is an NHL player?
No.
Not even close.
Well, does Edmonton, though?
Apparently.
I
don't know why.
I'm looking at it
Drinking the magic Kool-Aid?
I'm looking at it right now, and I feel really bad. And I wish the best. And, somebody from maybe an Oilers fan will be like, I don't need your pity or any of that. Look, you haven't made the playoffs in 9 years. It's going on 10.
Wait,
Let's
think about it. Think about it. The Winnipeg Jets. If I told you in 2006 the Winnipeg Jets would make the playoffs before Edmonton again, what would you say?
I would say you're crazy.
I would say what? There's no Winnipeg Jets.
That's not going to happen. I would say I see a team like Winnipeg eventually getting there because Florida. I would probably guess Florida would get moved before bankruptcy occurred in Atlanta. But yeah, I would guess something like that.
Well, the Jets didn't exist back then either.
Yeah,
that's why if I told you that, you would have told me.
I would have said he's crazy, and I would have said though I think there would have been another team in Winnipeg. There were still talks in the mid 2000s that a team was coming back to Winnipeg at some point.
I don't know if anybody remembers this. The Save the Thrashers rally. There was like 28 people there.
Yeah, it was depressing.
I heard a story once where a couple that I knew, they were down in Atlanta I don't know why they were down there, but they were down there. On that night, it was a home Thrashers game. They were walking by the arena, and somebody said, "Hey, if somebody from the Atlanta Thrashers organization, somebody probably from the box office in Atlanta Thrashers gear said, "Hey, do you guys want to go to a hockey game tonight?" And they're from Buffalo, and they're hockey fans. They're like, "Yeah, sure. How much do we owe you?" And they're just like, "Nope, just take the tickets."
What?
Yeah, they went in, and when they went in, they literally said there was probably about 400 people in that building, and they announced the attendance at like 3,000 people. And they said there was no way there was 3,000 people. It had to have been only like 400 people because that Thrashers that was probably I don't remember if that was the last year or the second last year the organization was in Atlanta, but I mean, especially in the last 2 years, especially after they made the playoffs, that franchise was going way downhill, and they were going down in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In almost spectacular fashion, how it burned. But Brayton, you mentioned something mockingly, and if I could take a minute of everyone's time to go on the rant of conspiracy theorists.
Oh, get it out of the way. I didn't even want to bring it up.
Okay. To all of those that think that Buffalo got stiffed in this, or anything like that, or we got cheated out of Connor McDavid, just stop. I'm going to say this one time. I don't care what happened with the lottery balls. If one of them got one of them was pulled out as an extra ball, just stop. We got someone awesome in Connor and Jack Eichel. Sam Reinhart's a playmaking center. Jack Eichel is a different kind of elite player in his own right. It's okay, people. The world's not against us. Let it go.
I mean, luck is. Luck has it. Sabres do not usually get the matter of luck against. No, you're right, Derek. Yeah. Conspiracy theories are stupid sometimes. I think there's a place for investigation in a lot of places, and there needs to be people who question things. Like, why would you videotape something that you could clearly do live? There's really no point to this. Why would you make more questions that need to be answered?
But at the same time, they videotaped it.
Absolutely, and they had people in the NHL present. As well, including Sabres members present.
Exactly.
So, there's no conspiracy. Edmonton won it. And why would the NHL want this to go to Edmonton?
Thank you, Lipa.
Who wants to watch Connor McDavid at a 9:30 start? Why would the NHL want that?
Yes. Thank you for bringing up my final point, and just right there. The NHL is secretly cringing at the fact that, they can't market Connor McDavid to the full potential. Joe DiBiase was mentioning it out in the outside the studio earlier. They can't market him, say if he was in Arizona, it's American, or if he was in Toronto. That would be like major money for those guys. And Toronto, as a matter of fact, had the best odds at the fourth ball.
Yes, they did. And anybody who heard that and saw that, they were like, "Well, I'm just glad he's not in Toronto."
You can't really put Edmonton on at 12:30 either.
No, you can't.
On the NBC games on the weekend, you can't do that.
Exactly, you can't do that. And the NHL is secretly cringing over this whole thing because of the fact that, they can't market Hockey Jesus the way that they marketed Crosby.
Hey, there's always next year.
Awesome.
No, do not.
Oh, touche. Good, sir.
Brayton.
So, wrapping up conspiracy theories, if you believe in the conspiracy theory, stop. Focus on the fact that the Sabres have Eichel and be really happy.
Focus on the real American hero.
Because he is, I swear to God, there should just be G.I. Joe trailers with Jack Eichel starring on them at this point. I want to see PSAs with Eichel in them around Buffalo. Just blow it up. Let's get it going. I love Ike.
The NHL's going to market Eichel so hard now.
He's the biggest American player for a face of America maybe since Mike Modano. Is that fair to say?
Maybe Pat Kane.
America!
Pat Kane, maybe.
Modano.
But the only reason why I say Mike Modano is because, one, he was in the Mighty Ducks. Two, because he brought an entire, out of all the teams that moved to the South, he brought in, and he started up an entire hockey market essentially in Dallas.
Yeah,
that was the presence of Modano. No other player has really done something like that. That nobody's done that for Arizona. Nobody's done that for Florida.
Speaking of Arizona,
but hold on. We'll get it out of the way before we go on to the next topic.
Oof! Just ouch.
Everybody knows Arizona. It sucks to be Arizona, right?
But you just mentioned the fact that Mike Modano created a hockey culture down there.
Yeah, McDavid could have done the same thing for Arizona.
Not even just McDavid. Eichel could have done the same thing.
Eichel could have done the same thing for Arizona.
Just ouch.
By the way, to toss this real quick on the Oilers, They rank 25th in terms of their prospect pool.
This
in the
sucks
NHL.
more than anything that has ever sucked before.
That is really bad. And Joe, you bring up a great point. That is horrible.
Chris whispers, "What are the Devils? They're 27th."
Oh, God. And that's not good for the
Aunt Larry.
To anyone that's still upset about the tank, the Sabres are first, and that's before they got Jack Eichel.
You know what that means, right?
That's really scary. What does that do for the Sabres? If they're number 1 and they get Jack Eichel, what does that mean? And they have
Is there a
another
super
first-round pick and 2 second-rounders, including the first pick of the second round.
I don't know if they're going to use it
You
at
know,
the draft.
you
but-
know, this makes it very attractable for Mike Babcock to come here.
Because
we know Babcock's not following McDavid now.
Yeah.
Unless he wants to go live in northern Alberta.
All I'm saying is that it is a really interesting outcome that we're going to have here in Buffalo, but I'm thrilled to have Jack Eichel and have him here, and that's what I want to talk about next. Looking at the future, the number 1 prospect pool in all of hockey and one of the top generational players for the next 15 years in NHL hockey, Jack Eichel leading the crowd here. Let's talk about players that you're going to have next year now, just so everybody can get to realize that the Sabres aren't actually going to be horribad next year. They're actually going to be a team that may actually be able to compete now. Everybody's talking about, Nick, you're crazy. You're nuts. They have 3 years away before they're even a chance at competing. All right, well, let me tell you some of the offensive lines here that we get. Okay, so we got Molson, Eichel, and Kane. Well, that's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty interesting. We also have Ennis, Gergensons, and Reinhardt. Ooh, how about that? How about I throw a little bit of ham and eggs at you coming out there? We have Foligno coming up as well with Grigorenko still, as well as having Gianta. And those are your first 3 lines. And how do you feel? And Cody Hatch I didn't even mention is somewhere there. He could be a third line. You say but when he gets minutes, he's a 20-goal player.
When he gets minutes and he's used properly.
Do not.
Yes.
The Cody Hatch bashing for no reason needs to stop.
No,
is he worth
I'm
the money
thinking
that
he might not be
is the
here.
is the
That's
money?
my thing.
Well, nobody's probably going to take the contract that he has. If they do, maybe it's Edmonton.
And they're
Who
not
knows?
buying him out because they're nowhere near the cap floor. Right
Exactly. So that being said, is he an effective third line 20-goal type scorer potentially, or 15 to 20 goal scorer?
If he's put on the power play, absolutely.
But if
he's put on the wing,
if you compare, I really think right wing is where he should be, especially
Sure.
when you have a hole right now. If you look at the free agents out there are a few guys that are better than him. But if you can't land a Justin Williams or a Michael Frolik, one of these top guys, Hodson is your best bet. Is your second line right winger.
You're gonna have Hudson Fashing, JT Compher. Name me some of the other prospects. Justin Bailey, Nick Baptiste.
Connor Hurley.
Connor Hurley. We forget about Connor Hurley.
Eric Cornell, Václav Karabachek.
Justin Kia.
Justin Kia. Jeez, I was so high on him and bad year.
But that being said, you look at the first 3 lines for the Sabres and the fact that Deloria is a pretty good winger for the 4th line and a penalty killer.
You're looking at what a Furland is doing for Calgary right now. I just imagine Delorier doing that same type of thing in the playoffs. Like he's the guy that just goes around and you can't stand him because he's crushing every one of your players.
That is, but that
he
is
plays
what,
that role.
But
it's like he gets paid to hit people.
With what I just described, having guys like Reinhardt, Gergensons, Kane, Molson, Ennis, Eichel. How do you feel about your offense now, guys?
A lot better than it used to be.
All right, now I'm throwing defense. I go Ristolainen.
Yes, please.
Georges, Bogosian, Pizik, Zadorov. I mean, it's not the greatest defense. They're going to have a lot of learning strides to do. The defense still going to need some work and need some players. But how do you feel about the defense if all those guys are playing defense?
Really good.
I
like it.
I'm feeling good.
Are you feeling like they have a chance to compete?
Yes.
I still like to see they have in goal, but yes.
Especially if you get the right coach.
So this is the thing. The Sabres really are, I think, 3 big players away from being in a position where they can actually compete near a bubble team.
Frank just brought up a point about coaches. Elliot Friedman just tweeted that Edmonton has reached out to Todd McClellan.
And Todd McClellan just they officially announced today that they had waived they had parted ways mutually.
So
which I think is ridiculous.
Could just be one less coach on the mound.
I think it's ridiculous because
it's not you, Todd. It's me. Yeah, you know what? You're right. It is you.
Todd McClellan, the Oilers have Todd Nelson. There's no need for Todd McClellan with that organization. Todd Nelson got that team somewhere at the end of the year, they were playing much better underneath him. It takes a little time for a guy like that. The Edmonton organization is so high on Todd Nelson. Why are they now going to Todd McClellan and saying, hey, do you want to come coach our team? I don't know if he wants to be an assistant coach. I don't know what kind of reaching out purposes they have, whether he wants a managerial position or whatnot.
Because it would match my narrative of the fact that the Oilers are now going to finish 7th or 6th place every year and never get to a Stanley Cup, similar to Peyton Manning in the NFL.
And
because that's exactly what McClellan does.
I mean, I don't feel they would be reaching out to Todd McClellan if they didn't win the lottery.
Truth.
If they didn't win the lottery, they're not doing this right now.
No, I don't think so either.
You're telling, I mean, beforehand you're saying, oh, we're confident in Todd Nelson or in Nelson. We're going to go forward with him, and he's going to help develop. He got Derek Roy to play well.
Yeah, he did.
And now you win McDavid. Okay, throw him to the side. We're going to go after a bigger name who's not necessarily better.
Can't really say much as Buffalo fans because we did the same thing with Ted Nolan. So I can't really say much about that.
Yeah, we did, but see, Ted Nolan didn't improve the team. I mean, you can.
He improved some players.
He improved some players, but Todd Nelson improved the team as a whole.
Yeah,
you can't argue that for Ted.
They got out of 30th.
I think that.
Thank you, Todd Nelson.
Edmonton was also a better team, so I will say
true.
that. But McClellan's a good coach. McClellan's a good coach, and wherever he goes, that'll be great. However, again, management we know is the problem at Edmonton. The Sabres, I think, are 3 big moves away. I think they're going to go out, and I think they need to get a 2 to 4 defenseman again to match up there to add some depth on that defense in free agency, or maybe in a trade. Players are going to be made available. And my question is, with the Sharks clearing house, by the way, here on 91.3 FM WBNY Buffalo, Buffalo's original alternative society 2, brought to you by the Buffalo State College Activity Fee. With the Sharks clearing house, what does that say about their organization heading forward, besides the fact that it's kind of in limbo?
Doug Wilson should be gone, but he is not.
He's not gone, but I
don't know why.
Out of curiosity, what is going to happen with players? You got some older players like Thornton and Marlowe, and you're in a transition period now as the Sharks. What are you going to do while you have potentially players you could get some value
you have
for?
Thornton and Marlowe, who are both 35.
They have no movement clause.
Both have contracts of $6.7 million.
Yeah.
But they both have no movement.
They could waive those.
They would absolutely waive them if you told Patrick Marlowe, hey, we're gonna trade you to, I don't know, pick a team, pick a contending team that's better than the Sharks right now. He's gonna say yes, no matter who.
What if I'm the Sharks? I said I got to trade you to a team that needs cap, and a team
that's on the rise.
And a team that's, the only reason why I'm saying is that you're looking as a team, if you're the Sharks right now, if they're going to go into a mode where they kind of have to reload and they want to do it with their younger players.
And I do believe even
you want to do it with a team that has picks.
Right. And if you're even looking past the guys on the team right now, like Pavelski and Couture, and you can throw Brent Burns and Thomas Hertl, they've got They've got 2 really good young prospects in the system in Nikolai Goldobin and Mirko Mueller, who are 2 guys that are going to step in and they're going to be really good players. So you have to think when guys like that get here, and then Couture is really in his prime and Pavelski's really in his prime. You have to have a core around them that's not 38-year-old Joe Thornton and 38-year-old Patrick Marlowe.
There's 3 players on this current Sharks roster that they are going to build around for the future. Joe Pavelski, Logan Couture, and Mark-Edouard Vlasic.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Vlasic. I should have, but yeah, because he's their best defenseman.
Yes.
Pickles.
Oh yeah.
Pickles.
And he's young, and he's got a great contract, only $4.2 million until 2018.
Are we serious?
I mean, yeah, that's a great contract for them.
He does have a great contract.
He's so underrated. People forget he was on the Canadian Olympic team, and he played
and that's not
good
easy
minutes
to
for them.
do.
So it's something to be compared up because the Sabres are going to make moves this summer. I mean, Murray already said he's like, yeah, we'll know by July 10th is what the date that he said when we'll know where we are as a team heading forward, really. But that really gives the implication that Tim Murray's not going to lie down in comparison to a guy like Jim Nill today in Dallas who talked about it and said, yeah, we think that, free agency is basically everybody's leftovers and failures. Well, I mean, nobody's going to say that, Jim, if you keep the same defense you had last year and you don't improve what you had.
Trevor Daley.
That's garbage. But that being said, there are some really good players we talked about, especially on the wing and then probably about a handful of guys, I think 5 defensemen that would be great upgrades heading to free agency this year. One of them may be taken up by Montreal, that being Petrie. But there's a couple of really good defensemen, like 2 to 4 guys that'll be available. So it'll be very interesting to see. And people forget, take away Bogosian and Kane again, and the cap floor is much lower. Oh, also, over $4 million comes free as well because Mazzaro's contract is up for the Sabres. People forget about that as well. So Sabres have a plethora of picks. Sabres have cap room. Sabres are on the rise. It's a really good time to be a Sabres fan. But
now that the tank season is over, really.
But now is the most important time of Tim Murray's GM
We
career
saw him
right
strip
now.
down a team. Now it's time to see him build it up.
He already kind of has.
Yeah, he's built it. It's just now let's wait.
Now
let's
it's maintain it.
Now let's see what he's already got all the parts to the car.
He's got all right. He's got the core.
together.
He's got the core.
He's got
That's
the
all-
engine.
Right. I mean, like when Darcy's core really after Breer and Drury was Connolly, Roy, Vanek, Pominville, and Gaustad. Those were your big guys really that he invested in. Murray has put his cards in Evander Kane, Jack Eichel, Tyler Ennis, Matt Molson, Zemgus Girgensson, Sam Reinhart,
Ty Domi.
Sure.
I wish.
I mean, those and Rasmus Ristolainen. Those were the guys I would say are your core pieces. I mean, as long as you keep that together, you can just have good players around them, and you'll be a great team.
It is.
He's done a great job. I think.
It is. I would say all those players are much better than the majority of good players. Now, don't forget Ryan Miller, though. That's the big key is that Darcy had a goalie, and Murray does not yet. However, let me ask you this question. What? I'm really curious, guys. I want your opinion. I don't really know. Scott Darling starting in net for the Chicago Blackhawks. What do the Chicago Blackhawks do if they go to the Stanley Cup with Scott Darling this
They're
year?
not going to, and here's why.
No. I didn't ask, are they? I asked what happens. What do they do? They're not going to, and here's why. And by the way, all they got to do is get by round 2, and, well, there's a really good chance they're going to the Stanley Cup because they're facing a team like Anaheim, no offense to the Ducks, or they're facing a Canucks-Flames game.
It's going to be like a few years ago when L.A. played Phoenix, which was Phoenix at the time when they went to the Cup.
Yes.
See, this is there's no way they can really get out of that Crawford contract because $6 million till 2020. They're gonna have to ride it out and hope that he can keep going.
But what if you have Scott Darling? And what if there's a team that's goalie needy like the Sharks?
Oh, you say trade Scott Darling
or trade? You're telling me a $6 million Corey Crawford who posted a .924 save percentage will not be somebody who may not be interested in that?
Let me ask you, would you be interested in that as for the Sabres?
If the Sabres were able to basically be like,
no.
Why would you not be on board for a guy that has a .920 plus save percentage who's been to a Stanley Cup?
No, I would.
Antti Niemi Jr.
See, in my philosophy,
he won a Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks.
My philosophy is I don't really like investing that much in goaltenders, but from a statistics point of view and looking at the quality of the goalie, I think Crawford absolutely is your immediate starting goaltender for the future. The only thing is I would rather
What do you think you're going to get in free agency, guys? Like Ryan Miller got paid $6 million.
That's another guy, by the way, that could be on the move.
Absolutely. But $6 million. He got paid $6 million to post basically, around a 912 save percentage, right? Something around that, right? I'm not going crazy. Here, I'm just... What do you guys expect to pay for a goalie? Now you got a guy who posts a 920 plus save percentage.
But you're looking at you can even use Scott Darling. Like you're looking at Scott Darling and Andrew Hammond and Devin Dubnyk. These are guys that are not getting paid much that are come out of nowhere.
Very true.
These teams are finding ways to win with goalies that aren't big names and aren't getting paid that much.
And Corey Crawford is, I would honestly say, a product of a system.
No, I don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
I think he's
the
been very
guy's
bad.
played 2 bad games.
Yeah.
He's been very, very good.
I agree. All I'm looking at is that's a guy you buy low on if Darling's the guy of the future.
To me, this is more about the success of Darling.
Like,
because
really,
Crawford, we know this isn't
If
him.
the contract is a problem for the Blackhawks and the Sabres are able to trade one of their second-round picks for Corey Crawford.
Okay.
Do you do that?
No, because I don't think Corey Crawford is worth a first-round pick.
Second
pick. Okay.
Is it
the
first?
I said second.
Okay, I didn't hear second, so I don't know what I'm hearing.
I'm not trading my first-round pick for him, but I'm saying your second.
I think
pick.
I have something in my my headphones. Hold on. Okay, I think that.
All I'm looking at.
headphones.
Let's say the Sabres don't get Matt O'Connor. And by the way, how much do you expect the Sabres to pay Matt O'Connor?
Just a couple.
Just a couple $1 million?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the San Jose Sharks. I want you because I don't believe in Stalock, and I'll pay you $3.5 million after unloading one of these players. Hi, I'm another team, one of the 10, 12 teams included. When you have 10 to 12 people interested in you, you're probably going to get paid a little bit of money. Is that fair to say? So even if you were to pay, let's say, $3 million for a guy that's completely unproven at the NHL level, you would feel safer putting, even if it's $2.5 to $3 million in somebody completely unproven when you have the cap room to take on somebody that has proven they can win in the regular season, even win in the playoffs. You would not take that risk.
I mean,
Because, I mean, that's the difference. You're looking at either Murray's going to trade for somebody, he's going to sign somebody, or it's Anders Lindbach again.
Would you? I mean, I think there's a chance he might just
ride out Anders Lindbach. I hope.
No.
I hope Scott Sterling comes out of nowhere.
I was thinking about the Martin Jones option, but now that I'm thinking about that,
That's still trading for one.
yeah, because really you're giving compensation, which might be about the same that you're giving up for Crawford.
Yeah.
The only difference is you're probably paying like $2 million less for Martin Jones. I would rather pay $2 million more for Crawford.
Realistically speaking, I mean, is Chicago going to hold on to both Darling and Crawford?
I think they will,
especially
because Darling's not proven enough over longevity.
Yeah. He's not proven enough. You want a backup? You want Cam Ward on your hands, but when you could get actual compensation for Cam Ward?
They probably could afford to, though, because Antti Ranta has proven to be a capable backup.
Well, I think that, if not Matt O'Connor, I mean, I'd really like to get Matt O'Connor. Don't get me wrong. I'd rather match the contract. I'd rather send out an offer sheet for Martin Jones, because I don't think the Kings are going to sign him.
Or if Dubnyk hits the open market, you can just put all your cards on him and not have to.
But I don't think the Wild are going to give up.
I don't think they're going to let him go.
No.
You don't think Dubnyk will want to test the open market though, after the season he's had?
He may, but if any contract gets back to the Wild, knowing how much, I think they would overpay to keep
I think they would
Dubnyk.
overpay, but I don't know if they can compete with the Sabres with their salary situation.
If Darling is the guy in Chicago, all I'm saying is that if he's the guy, I find it hard to believe that Crawford's going to be on the bench next year for an entire year when he's came out and said, if you read the report, that he's frustrated with not play. He was frustrated with not playing. He's a great teammate. Everybody believes that.
Mm-hmm.
But he is frustrated with not being able to play. And, I mean, that's going to be hard to keep a guy who's played so many games on the bench like that.
You could kind of compare it to the Corey Schneider, Roberto Luongo situation, where Luongo was this super highly paid goalie. He was the starter. Yep. Schneider, the young guy, came on, looked really good, and then you have a problem where you got to decide who your starter is. I mean, it's not like they're going to do what Vancouver did and trade both of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, they very well could do what they did when they traded Luongo. To me, they need to see a larger sample size from Darling, though. So if I had to guess, if Darling keeps this up and, say, Crawford doesn't even get back into the season in the playoffs, I would expect them to split time at the beginning of next year.
This is really cool. The Winnipeg Jets and the Whiteout, they did it in 96, and it looked awesome. And now in 2015, in HD, crystal clear HD, it looks even better. It's fantastic.
And
so Jets go.
And it's really upsetting that the Jets are not wearing white.
I know, it's kind of...
Like, really.
Way to go, guys.
That being said, we're going to end the show with that. We're very excited for the Sabres' futures. We're going to have a lot to talk about as playoff hockey goes. We're in the midst of the first round right now. Rangers looking like the way they've been playing, and they're going to walk away with a victory here against the Penguins that go up 2-1. Anaheim and Winnipeg. This is a very big game for Winnipeg, but I would be surprised if Winnipeg doesn't come away with a win tonight. This is a very emotional time for the city, as well as Winnipeg almost came away with the win in Game 2 against the Ducks, so we'll see where that goes, as well as some Blues and Wild in a series that probably will go to 7 games in a very entertaining one.
I love that series already.
But that being said, that's going to about do it here on Neutral Ice. For Frank Curry, Joe DiBiase, Chris Kowalchuk, Derek Kramer, Brayton Wilson, and I'm Nick Lippa. Thanks for joining us here on Neutral Ice. We'll be back next week at 8 o'clock on 91.3 FM, WBNY.